deep three. A one-hand slam. Finger rolls it up and in. He checked. That was just sick. Listen to the crowd roar for Klay Thompson.
4 years ago tonight, Klay Thompson set an NBA record with 37 points in a quarter. The third quarter, to be exact, in a Warriors win over Sacramento. He was 13 of 13 for the quarter, 9 of 9 from three-point range. He had a couple of free throws without missing as well. Perfect quarter for Klay Thompson, who only had 52 that night and asked out of the game with like 9 minutes left because they were up by 30. So that made us wonder, who are the greatest streak shooters of all time? Thompson's got to be on that list, but
yes,
for you guys, who are the greatest streak shooters you've seen?
Man, that's a great question. A guy that automatically comes to mind for me is Gilbert Arenas. He had some moments where he would light it up, and I mean, he would go at the other best players in the league. I mean, I'll never forget he and Kobe, you know, him taking that challenge to fill it up in Kobe's face one night. But Arenas was, to me, ahead of his time, GA, when you think about a volume three-point shooter before the volume shooting three-point era. He got labeled a gunner, but he was an awesome scorer and an unbelievable streak shooter, guy that could get hot and absolutely blow the roof off the building.
Agent Zero.
Agent Zero. Oh, gosh, I miss some of his crazy exploits. It was good stuff.
There was a lot of crazy there.
Oh,
it was fun for the most part.
And really, it's hard to say who's the greatest because all those guys.
Sure.
I mean, we had some other guys that we were talking about. Ricky Pierce, Dale Ellis. These are guys that were just lights-out shooters. The Rifleman, Chuck Person. But for me, one of the guys that stood out for me personally was Mahmoud Rauf. I mean, a.k.a. Chris Jackson, back when we played against each other in college. I mean, he, off the dribble, shot the basketball as well as anybody I had ever played against. I mean, his crossover and ability to freeze you and pull. Now, he wasn't a guy that shot it with the range of some of those guys, but in part, I think, because that was the era. You know, you saw more of the great shooters, the Hornaceks, the Jeff Malones. Those guys were mid-range shooters more so than the long three-point shooters that we see today. But, man, they could get it going. And again, once they get in that zone, it didn't matter how good you defended them. If they could get it off, it was more than likely going in.
Somebody came up with Chuck Person.
The Rifleman.
No doubt.
I just thought of Rashawn Leonard.
Yeah.
He could get it going.
And do guys like Ray Allen and Reggie Miller count?
They were just really good shooters.
I mean, they were great shooters,
but see, my thing was these guys were all like, none of these guys are streak shooters.
Right.
Now, the difference is they're always great shooters. Their streaks just go to another level. I mean, it's not fair to call them streak. They were great shooters.
I think
there's no doubt about it.
But you know what it
is. Like, because you always say, oh, he's streaky. Well, that means he's inconsistent. No, these guys were, just like Klay is not an inconsistent shooter.
Right.
He just has those stretches where he does, like what he did. We'd never seen anybody make 10 consecutive threes in an actual game.
Right.
You know, before.
Just the other night,
And so he's done things like that just take it to a whole nother level. But these are some guys in that era, you felt the same way about them that you feel about the great shooters today. They just shoot with more range today. And I think they shoot it in different ways that you didn't get back in those eras. And again, all great shooters, though. But today, what you're seeing with Steph and Klay in particular and James Harden, I mean, we didn't see guys. First of all, when you shot a three in our era, your toes, they had to check to see if you were touching the line every time you shot because everybody was going forward. Nobody ever went away from the three-point line to get threes off the way you see guys doing that. It's incredible the range that these guys have, the confidence that they play with. I'd never seen it. Steph Curry and Klay, for me, where they shoot shots from, where they shoot from. I remember one time, remember when Steph hit those shots against OKC a couple seasons ago?
Yeah, pull up.
We did a demonstration here on the floor, and we put the marks down where he shot those shots. And I remember standing on one of them. It was about 38 feet from the basket, and I was saying to myself, damn, would I throw this to get it there? Because I couldn't shoot this as a shot to get it there because most shots from that distance were heaves. These guys shoot them with rhythm. It's incredible.
And there's a whole generation of kids growing up with that as a part of their game, which, for better or worse, there's a great debate about whether or not this is good for basketball. But now it's commonplace. You got guys taking shots from those distances at the NBA level and all the way down. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of shooters develop in these next couple of generations following the lead of guys like Klay and Steph.
You know, the indigenous people in Alaska have 1,000 different words for snow, I think it is. There should be like at least 100 different words for Klay Thompson hot.
Yeah.
Like different varieties of Klay Thompson
Whatever
hot.
it is,
He needs his own emoji.
Yes.
That's what it is.
All right, more to get to here. Checking in on the Pacers. Shaquille O'Neal was an unstoppable force in the NBA the moment he stepped onto the court. Not only was he named an All-Star as a rookie, but selected as a starter as well. Ro Parrish revisits Shaq's first All-Star appearance back in 1993 in this episode of Storytime with Shaq.
At center is the first rookie to start in an All-Star game since 1985. Standing over 7 feet tall and weighing 300 pounds, he plays well beyond his 20 years. You know him simply as the Shaq. From the Orlando Magic, Shaquille O'Neal.
1993, Utah. Your first All-Star game, making it as a rookie. Number one, what were your first impressions when you get there? Did you expect to make the All-Star game as a rookie?
Well, I expected to make the All-Star game, but I wasn't expecting to be starting. First of all, before I got there, terrified.com.
Why?
Because, I mean, all the guys that I dreamed up, dreamed of being, guys that I looked up to, I'm finally there with them. There was one moment at the All-Star game that kind of made me relax a little bit. We were doing the team picture, and the guy puts his hand on my shoulder, and I looked down, some big hands. I'm like, who is this? And I looked up, and it was the great Michael Jordan. And he said, I'm proud of you, big fella. You're going to be a great player. So once he said that, the steam just like, but after that, I kind of learned how to be an all-star performer because it's different. And, it's kind of similar to my thought process of putting on the show for the fans. But at an all-star game, you got to do extra. Come down, cross people up, dribble between the legs, better slam dunks, maybe shoot a three. So after that, I became sort of an all-star expert.
So looking back at all those players that you spoke about that you were in awe of, you had that Michael Jordan moment, but talk about Pippen, Isaiah, Malone, Stockton, Barkley, Robinson. Are you able to take all that in at that moment? Do you realize how much greatness you're around when you see all those players out there with you?
It was just solidifying the beginning of my greatness. Because when you come in as a rookie and everybody says you're great, and then I made the top 50 team, a lot of people was upset about that. So in my mind, I had to back it up. So by me getting selected to the All-Star game, that was sort of backing it up. I had to put up big numbers, sort of backing it up. But, I was just saying to myself when I was sitting in the locker room, damn, I made it. Medium-level juvenile delinquent who didn't start his freshman or sophomore year, 35-1, San Antonio Cole High School, lose the state championship on free throw line, redeemed myself senior year, 36-0, 3 years at LSU, #1 pick. Everyone says you're the next greatest thing. Maybe this is the start of me being what everybody says I can be. When you're just sitting there watching, you just automatically put yourself in those scenarios. And I used to do it all the time. And then finally, look up and I see the real Charles Barkley walk by. I see the real John Stockton, the real Karl Malone, the guy who I grew up watching, the Admiral, David Robinson, Pat Riley with his $6,000 suit and his silky tie and the beautiful hair. Like I'm sitting next to all these people. So maybe what everybody is saying that this young kid will be a great player, maybe it's true.
The 2019 All-Star starters will be revealed tomorrow night on TNT at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. You both were part of the esteemed media panel.
I don't know about esteemed. Yeah.
Calling it esteemed media panel that represents 25% of the total ballot when it comes to the starters. So you both had to submit Eastern Conference starting five and a Western Conference starting five. Your Eastern Conference starters are pretty similar. Both include Kyrie Irving, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kawhi Leonard, and Joel Embiid. They are identical except for what I'm going to call the second guard spot. Kemba Walker for Greg. Sekou, you've got Bradley Beal. This being a TV segment, you're now obliged to argue about it.
I mean, listen, I think both those guys are worthy. I just looked at and weighed heavier the work Bradley Beal has done since John Wall went down. A Wizards team, GA, that was out of it, out of people's consciousness. We had kind of written them off. John Wall goes down, Bradley Beal is playing fantastic. I think he should be an all-star either way.
Yeah.
He could be a starter. You could have him be one of the reserves. It doesn't matter. As long as he's on that team, I think you're doing right by him.
Yeah, and I agree. I think both are going to make the team. I went with Kemba, one, he's been great from the start of the season, and two, as of today, they're a playoff team.
Right.
You know, and so to me, I do think, because their stats are actually very similar, but I just think, you know, ultimately you want to reward success too in winning. So that's why for me, I ended up going with Kemba. But I'm like you, Sekou. I think both guys are all-stars with how well they performed this season under adverse conditions for both teams.
I actually put Ben Simmons on my ballot, and I think you could make an argument for
Yes,
three of those guys.
I think he'll be there too.
If you're rewarding winning, Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
So the winning argument, that's kind of where I felt.
No question.
In the Western Conference, again, you agree on four of them. Steph Curry, James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Paul George. Greg has the Kings. Sekou went with the Brown.
Yeah, I just looked at the fact, again, it goes back to before LeBron went down, they were a 4 seed. With that same team, in essence, that we saw from a season ago, and his numbers had been off the charts again. And in Anthony Davis, as much as I love him, again, he's going to be an all-star. I just thought overall the fact that the team success just hasn't been there. That was the one area where I had an issue. And the interesting thing for me, the guy that probably is more deserving based on team success is Jokic.
Yeah.
Because Jokic has been incredible this year. So, again, he's definitely going to be on the team.
For sure.
But I think, again, part of this is who do you want to see as well when you talk about the starters. And so I ultimately went with LeBron.
Yeah, and if Anthony Davis was any less of an unbelievable, you know, freak of nature in this league, it would be easier to leave him off somebody like this. I just figured when you look at his body of work, independent of the context of the Pelicans' struggles this season, he's always up here on that next level of the handful of guys in the league who can do what he does on a regular basis. Hard to leave him off, but of course, people will say, well, you know, why are you penalizing LeBron for missing games when you didn't penalize Steph Curry for the same thing?
Yeah, why are you doing that?
So there is a part of me that kind of scratches my head and says, do you knock LeBron for being out? Is it a recency bias because he's been out lately? You know, because nobody's going to have a Western Conference All-Star starting 5 without LeBron James. It wouldn't make sense. But, of course, I went there.
Except for you.
Except you did. And yet you did it anyway.
I know.
Didn't you?
I figured somebody had to shake it.
There you go.
I'm with you on AD, though. I mean, some guys, the numbers, the talent is just so overwhelming, you almost overlook.
Shout out to Paul George, though, for playing
Oh,
his way onto that list.
Man, he's been
He's been awfully good this year for the Thunder.